Dadhood. Modern Dadhood podcast.
3, 2, 1.
Now it feels official.
Father's Day episode of Modern Dadhood. Mark, check it.
Give me a second to catch my breath, would you?
From the clap?
No, just from life. Golly. Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Father's Day? Woo!
That is on the calendar for this weekend, whether you're prepared for it or not.
I mean, are we ever prepared?
For anything?
For anything, really? And I don't just mean me and you, we. I mean, like, the royal we. We
Like
can only
people or dads?
I'm going to go with dads.
Okay.
I'm going to go with dads.
Parents. Yeah, okay.
Parents. We can only be so prepared.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Hey, let's introduce the show. You go first.
Great idea. This is Modern Dadhood, an ongoing conversation about the joys, challenges, and general insanity of being a dad. In this moment, I'm feeling all the feelings as we record tonight. My name is Mark Checkett, and I'm a dad to two boys who are both 8 years old and who are both very lively in the very next room. So you'll probably hear them from time to time. And you, sir?
Well, my name's Adam Flaherty, and I'm a dad to two girls who are 12 and 9. Mm-hmm. And 12's starting to feel close to teenager, and that's a weird thing to say, considering she was maybe 5 when we started this show.
I was just trying to think back to the very beginnings because our kids were really little. Mine were were they even 2? Which is
I think they were under
2. Crazy to think. It's interesting. You just said teenager. Our guest today has 3 teenage daughters. Yeah,
our guest is somebody who actually I've been collaborating fairly close with over the past couple of months. His name's Jeff Krasno, and he is a podcaster himself. He's an author. He's a thought leader, and I'm excited to talk about his family, which does include 3 teenage daughters, and the project that we've been collaborating on, which is actually just out right now.
Very cool. I just started diving into some of his content, and I don't know him as well as you do, but I would refer to him as a sesquipedalian.
He is a fan of large multi-syllabic words.
Indeed.
And in fact, my vocabulary has been expanded just in producing this work for him and editing this content.
And I want to say, that's not a criticism. Okay, I'm here for it. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him read some of his essays.
Oh, for sure. I admire people whose vocabulary is more diverse than mine.
Same.
Father's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Anything on deck? Anything that you're aware of, or is it all a surprise as of right now, or maybe potentially unplanned?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have a few plans of my own. Okay. I fully intend to play golf first thing in the morning.
Ooh, yeah. That sounds nice.
Yeah. Haven't been out on a course in quite a while. It's going to be an absolute slaughter. I can tell you that much. My lower back already hurts just at the thought of it. No, but we're also going to do, I'm going to get together with my brother. It's also my mom's birthday.
Wow.
It's the end of the school year. There's kind of a lot of things going around to celebrate. So I think as much as we can, I'm just going to try to be, well, except for golf, but be with the family and just have a nice time together. Maybe eat some delicious food, maybe go out for ice cream. Enjoy the simple things in life. Yeah, 100%. But what about you, man?
I'm probably going to lay back on the couch and just scroll on my phone for a couple hours.
So that's just the same thing you always do.
And when my kids try to talk to me, I'll just do the brush them away, that gesture with my hand. Mm-hmm. And then grunt. I won't even use words.
That's perfect.
I don't really have any plans yet aside from I definitely want to see my dad, who's 84 years old, and spend some time with him. Ocean swimming would be nice.
Oh yeah, that's a go-to for you.
I like the beach. I like jumping in the water. Yeah. So that would be nice. And otherwise, just not being responsible for a heck of a lot would be a really nice Father's Day to me.
Maybe a quick ride on the moped.
Yeah, absolutely. If the weather's good, yeah, maybe take the moped out.
Is it mopeding? Like, what are you doing when you're on a moped?
I'm scooting, baby.
You're scooting. Oh, got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Scooting. Get out there and do some scooting, my guy.
But yeah, I mean, end of the school year. I mean, life is just, we say it all the time. Life is crazy right now. But, I'm trying to soak in the good weather and enjoy the long days and get outside in the evening and just live it up.
Yeah, being present, that's a big thing. I'm just going back to what you said a couple seconds ago. It's hard. It's really hard. You have to really put in the effort to be and maintain being in the present moment.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I struggle too because sometimes life seems to scream by at 1 billion miles an hour. And then there are also times where it's just painfully slow.
Yeah.
And waxing and waning between that, it's hard to stay balanced in the center at any point in time.
Lately, I've been forcing myself to take a little bit of time just to relax when I need it, listen to my body a little more. And I'll tell you, like, it makes a big difference.
Do you ever try like mindful eating?
Well, we've talked about this offline. I mean, I am pretty conscious of what I'm putting in my body. So I guess to some degree you could call that mindful eating. I'm documenting what I consume.
But like sitting down like at a meal or with a snack or whatever and like very intentionally like feeling the feeling of it like in your mouth as you chew it, as you break the food down, swallow it, all that.
It's funny you say that. Like maybe not specifically with food, but in general, I've been trying to just be more mindful about like all the positive experiences. Even just being outside in the evening for like a walk or a bike ride, just like really appreciating the colors or the temperature or the smell. And yeah, I guess that may extend to food as well, especially like some of the fruits that are available this time of year and really ripe this time of year. Like I will bite into something and let my whole family know how much I'm enjoying it for sure.
I think what you're saying that there's a lot around us at any given moment to be thankful for, to be grateful for, and to appreciate if you just take a second.
There is absolutely. And the more you, we're starting to get really crunchy here.
What's happening?
The more that you adopt that mindset and remind yourself, take notice of the things that you're grateful for, and the more that you express gratitude and appreciation, the more it just happens naturally. It's like any habit or any muscle you're building. Like the more you do it, the more you'll do it.
I'm going to just be present in this moment with you right now. And unfortunately, all of our listeners are going to. Can
you write down that quote that I just said? It was something like, the more you do it, the more you'll do it. Because actually, like, that is brilliant.
I mean, that's something like right out of Star Wars, really, when you think about it. That's some Jedi level stuff, I think.
Well, listen, Jeff is going to be with us in just a moment to talk about his new series. And what do you think about this? Tell me honestly what you think about this. What if we screen the trailer for this series just to give listeners a bit of context as to what we're going to be talking about?
For his series?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think we should. Let's set the bar.
Well, dads and moms listening, this is a project that I was rather intimately involved with creating. I'm very proud of it. It's just being released to the world. It's called Diaries of a Dance Dad. And here's the trailer.
Our Father, who art in the carport, hallowed be his wallet. Please give us our daily bread, preferably in 10s, and forgive us our debts. Lead us not into your woo-woo meditations, but deliver us from dance class. Welcome to Diaries of a Dance Dad, life lessons from the clutter of parenthood. My name is Jeff Krasno, and that was the Lord's Prayer, according to my 3 daughters. You see, I wear multiple cloaks of identity: heedful husband, conscious capitalist, amateur athlete, proficient pianist, as you will soon hear, and anxious author. But there is no role that brings me as much simultaneous joy and misery as faithful father to my 3 radiant, resplendent, brilliant, obstreperous, mischievous, truculent, impudent, effervescent, precious, audacious teenage daughters. The weekly dispatches in this new series chronicle the long, wandering, and beautiful improv of raising my girls, my estrogen footprint, as I lovingly call them.
Hey, Dad.
That's Phoebe.
Hi, Dad.
That's Undine, a.k.a. Lollipop Ice Cream, a.k.a. Lolly.
Hey, Dad.
And that's Micah. As they fly the coop, I am bookending this chapter of my paternity with stories that are at once harrowing and hilarious, and written to make you laugh and cry in equal measure. Now, as a fair warning, I must issue this proviso. My ramblings on parenthood sometimes swim outside the prescribed lanes of political correctness. They are uncensored, often satirical romps into my psyche. Hence, they occasionally employ language usually reserved for bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Interstate 95. Now, if you're already a parent, I'm sure you'll grant me some grace as you understand that some degree of potty mouth is completely appropriate given the immiseration that so often accompanies parenthood. Now, if you're not a parent yet, don't let this series have undue influence. Regardless of your current status, I assure you there is a veritable deluge of expletives, a Ganges of shits and fucks, a veritable bag of dicks just waiting for you there postpartum. And if parenthood has for some reason or another eluded you, well, then sit back and enjoy your schadenfreude. And just be grateful that you don't know what a fucking carpool is or why it's canceled. Again. Indeed, parenthood can feel like a constant carpool, a perpetuity of pickups, a dirge of drop-offs, admin and drudgery, forms and shruggery. But every harvest moon, in moments as rare as steak tartare, you step on a spiritual needle buried deep within the immense haystack of putrid adolescent laundry, and you experience a satori. An awakening into some great truth. It is these diamonds, excavated from the deepest rough of parenthood, that I present to you in this series. Every week, I share a story and subsequently am joined by my better 3/4, Skylar, or one of my horrible, adorable daughters, to poke at it. The written versions will be published weekly on my Substack at jeffkrasno.substack.com. And if you wish to enjoy all the stories in one tidy little place, please support my work by purchasing the audiobook at onecommune.com/DanceDad. If you do so, you'll also receive my online course on Stoicism and a series of my meditations. And I guarantee that Stoicism and mindfulness will be very helpful along your parenthood journey. Now, if you have any stories of your own parenthood that you'd like to share, or advice, or criticism of the constructive variety, send me an email at jeffk@onecommune.com. I'm looking for your feedback, because God knows how much a middle-aged white man loves to ask for directions. Okay, gotta go. I'm late. Enjoy.
There you have it. I hope that entices listeners to check out Diaries of a Dance Dad. And without further ado, let's welcome Jeff Krasno. Jeff Krasno is a dad of 3 teenage daughters living in Los Angeles. He's the host of the Commune podcast and the CEO of the company Commune, which educates on personal and societal well-being. Jeff's joining us for our Father's Day episode to talk about his brand new podcast and companion audiobook based on a series of written essays that he's penned called Diaries of a Dance Dad. And I can't wait to talk about this body of work. Jeff, it's great to have you on Modern Dadhood.
It is a great honor to be here with you two gentlemen.
So you have 3 teenage daughters. Having worked on this podcast and audiobook, I feel like I know them, even though I've never met them. But will you introduce them to our listeners and tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. This is my beloved estrogen footprint, as I call them. And the X chromosomes extend further out. So we have chickens here, a whole number of chickens. No roosters. I am the sole rooster. I am married to a woman, last I checked, which was some time ago. And so I live within this sort of cloud of estrogen, and I have for some time. It's also, our house tends to be the social heartbeat for them and all of their friends. So it's not uncommon for there to be like 20 girls here just swarming around. And my wife is fairly social too, and she hosts a women's health podcast. So like, for example, last week, she had 5 female doctors here, staying here. And then my kids are home for the summer, and they had all of their friends. And I basically have a man cave.
Girls are home for the summer. So am I right to understand that your older 2, Phoebe and Ondine, are out of the house and your youngest, Micah, is still home full time?
Yeah, I mean, we're clutching to our waning utility here with one. She will be a junior in high school, though she's absconding to Scotland for the summer. To St. Andrews. And then, my 2 eldest, well, one just graduated from college just weeks ago and just started her first big girl job. And then, my middle one is a geeky neuroscientist at the University of North Carolina. And she's home working for a psychotherapist all summer. And part-timing is my psychotherapist.
Yeah, that's a house full of women you got there.
It is. Like I don't get near the laundry room. Basically, I'm basically there's a like caution tape around the laundry room. I'm not allowed to go anywhere.
You just have to venture down to the river with like a bucket and just.
I just basically don't wash my clothes. Really, is really the moral of the story there, which is fine because I'm largely, I have generally good hygiene. Yes.
So, Jeff, you're best known, I think, as a thought leader in the wellness world. But this series of essays that Adam was teeing up and that we've talked a little bit about covers a completely different subject matter. The question is, what made you decide to start writing about fatherhood and your experiences, and what made you want to release it now?
Well, first of all, I love being described as a thought leader because I'm an expert in nothing. So thought leader is really good. I hover over divergent topics. Yeah, I mean, I've been writing about 1,500 to 2,000 words every week since March 2020. So my business partner, Jake, tricked me. He coaxed me into starting to write a COVID Sunday newsletter because, people were home alone and frightened and lonely and looking for little, buoys of hope in the tumultuous seas of COVID. So I naively agreed to write this weekly commusings, sorry for the title, essay. And so, I was writing, and then about 4 weeks in, I got myself over a literary barrel. I'm like, fuck, now wait, I got to write another one on Sunday. Fortunately, 2020 provided plenty of fodder to write about, just things like vaccines and George Floyd and QAnon and Trumplandia and everything else. So I was writing mostly about those topics, and they were very incendiary and contentious. And then, that kind of, I just sort of ran out of socio-political things to say. So I was like, I really want to just excavate more of a personal side of my creative nonfiction, if you will. And I just started to write about the girls, and it was like an epiphanous experience for me. Like I would be, first of all, I can write anywhere. I don't need to be at a particular desk. I can be curled up on a lawn chair or in my bed or wherever. So wherever I was, I'd start to write, and I would find myself, and this sounds like really self-indulgent, but I would find myself like laughing and crying at myself and the things that I wrote. And that became a litmus test for whether or not something was actually good or not. And so when I knew that like I could move myself, then I became confident that I could move other people. And so I started to deploy these little missives on Sunday, and I got so much reaction from them. It was like permission for people to tell their own wacky, madcap parenthood stories. And my wife and I own this little retreat center up in Topanga. It is like Neil Young's old property, which is the myth, though potentially apocryphal, but I'm going with it. And we have these retreats up there, mostly in the wellness sphere. But at night, people will, have a glass of wine or two. And I started reading these essays about the girls aloud to these audiences, small, like 30 people, mostly women, mostly moms. And people are just like laughing and crying and, having their own awakenings to certain things, or seeing their own story in my story or in our stories. And yeah, that really just spurred me on. And then last summer, I workshopped a 90-minute one-man show, reading some of these some kind of bridging Mike Birbiglia and David Sedaris a little bit, and a little Spalding Gray peppered in there. And it was really enjoyable. I was doing this in Los Angeles, and I workshopped a few, like 3 or 4 times this show based on the essays. And I was like, I should really make some sort of compendium of this. And here we are.
As you were writing, you've mentioned a couple times laughing, crying, and some of the essays they're funny, they're pensive, they're deep. Some of them are sad, but it sounds maybe like it was a natural process. But did you have, were you thinking about the balance of, I don't want it to all be silly, or I don't want it to all be sad, I want it to be a mixture of these things? Or was it just naturally sort of ending up that way for you?
Yeah, very natural. I was on I think I live on a emotional teeter-totter a little bit. I'm down and up and down, always kind of searching for that place where no one's feet are touching the ground. But that's a very tenuous, precarious place. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of these are based all on real stories. And life is just mixed, right? It's a chiaroscuro of joy and trauma and pain, and the process of metabolizing that pain and trauma and transmuting it. And so it's just kind of where I naturally gravitated. And I would go on little streaks. Like sometimes, there's an essay here in there about traveling to Paris and then to the south of France. And I don't know if you remember sort of the pent up demand to travel kind of post-COVID. And so we made a number of trips there. And then my eldest ended up going to school there for a year. And we would stalk her endlessly until she kicked me out of Paris. I think her final words were, I think she said, "Dad, there are 6 baristas here in Paris that know you by your first name. It's time for you to go home."
Love it.
So then, but my wife and I, we've been together for 38 years. And so we lived in Paris as students in 1990. So we were sort of reliving our insouciant youth through my daughter. And I love Paris and I love France. And that inspired a whole little section of essays. And so I would go on a little jag about being in France. And then I would go the compendium is loosely broken up into 5 sections that have where the essays have a little bit to do with each other.
Judging by the name Diaries of a Dance Dad, listeners might assume that it's all specifically stories about your kids, but there's actually a number of them where you are exploring your own relationship with your dad, which is very complex, and even the death of your dad, which just happened recently. And, I wonder, in exploring some of the more, personal, vulnerable subject matter, did you have any hesitation about whether you should just keep that for yourself or for your family or release that to the public?
Well, I don't anymore. No. Yeah, I mean, I've always really pulled the curtain back on our family's personal life. And, with the approval of my girls and my wife, because I think that people can really see their own story in the stories of others. And if you're willing to put yourself out there and walk that tightrope of vulnerability, I think other people will do that too. And I think that can be helpful. Also, I will just also say that, my dad died in the middle of March, and, we were already well into the project, and I hadn't really planned on including much about him. I hadn't really conceived of the project that way at all. But when he in the lead up to his death, he went into hospice, and I was flying across the country quite a bit to help manage that process. And then I was very involved in kind of the grief metabolism of the family and organizing his celebration of life and reaching out to all of his old friends, and then trying to, gather some of my own thoughts about my dad. And I started it really reframed how I was thinking about this material. I had gone into it thinking about it as a very bi-directional relationship between my girls and me, and my influence on them and their influence on me. And then I came out of it thinking about this project more as a thread of myself as a link in a chain of a lot of things, of we're all trying to break our intergenerational cycles of trauma. My dad had his part of the way he raised me was about the redemption, his own redemption, and being able to process a lot of his trauma. He certainly passed down some of that to me, and of course I'm trying to just do a little bit better job than him for the sake of my girls. But there was also some really quite amazing things that also emerged that I didn't expect, particularly like my dad was just an epic public speaker, just a wonderful orator, one of these sort of Bill Clinton-esque type of guys that made you feel like you were the only person in the room when there was 1,000 people there. And he passed a little bit of that down to me, but then at his celebration of life, my girls all volunteered to speak, and I had no premonition about it, or I had no window into what they were going to say. And, they got up in front of a very large group of people and a lot of like crusty old curmudgeons in suits and whatnot, and gave these absolutely marvelous, articulate, poised, emotional speeches. And I think that's kind of when it really landed for me of like, oh yeah, this is a thread, and this is the best of what I got from my dad and the best of what my girls got from me.
Yeah. That's really just got me thinking about obviously my dad. I lost my dad several years ago. Actually, almost 10 years ago, I suppose, at this point now. But yeah, it's really an amazing thing to witness if you get the opportunity to witness it, the things that you got. I never thought of it that way, though. I like this notion of a chain or a thread. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to know what you feel is maybe the essay in the series that you're most proud of, or perhaps maybe most excited for listeners to hear.
It's funny. I've had to revisit them now ad nauseum, and it's good that I can still put up with myself, which is potentially a reflection of my ego, but hopefully just that the quality of the work is decent. Yeah, there's a couple in very different ways. I mean, the essay that I suppose really propelled this project was called The Inferno, is mostly a satirical look at a dance competition. I get conscripted to chaperone my girls on these multi-day purgatories of dance comps, and they're always just in like the armpit of all armpits of Southern California. I just, dropped right into pumped gas and dry cleaning. And so there is the sort of beleaguered dad having to suffer through these dance comps. And there's a lot of funny anecdata in there. But there is also this serious aspect, or this, I suppose, kind of like epiphany inside of it. And I think a lot of dads and parents can associate with this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be dance. It could be gymnastics or soccer or anything that requires a 2.5 hour bumper to bumper commute, on a weekend, generally, when all you want to do is just like hang out on the patio and have a beer and mow the lawn or something simple, chase a ball yourself. And of course, then you've devoted your entire weekend to, within an ever diminishing lifetime to dealing with your kids. And then you're just waiting around mostly. You're waiting for something to happen, particularly in dance competitions, because each performance is about 90 seconds long. And then, of course, they intersperse them across 3 days. And so all you're really doing is tapping your own foot, waiting for them to tap their foot. And then, kind of within that IV drip of tedium, you will experience something absolutely unbelievable and amazing, because eventually they will take the stage, and for a brief moment, you get to smell the fragrance of the flowers you planted, right? It's like, there they are in all of their glory, dancing as if they had no audience, just flowing like water. And you're like, oh my God, this is what it is to be here and alive, just to embody and inhabit the present moment and be completely aware of your body and space, and all of those aspects of flow state that we chase, and there it is right in front of you. And so this is, I think, this idea of stepping on the spiritual needle buried within the immense haystack of putrid adolescent laundry. That's that's the actual thing. Is like, there you are, like one of 6 men sitting in the back row of the auditorium with tears in your eyes, recognizing that for this brief moment, your daughters are just so much better than you. And that's cool. That makes it worth it. So I love that. I love that essay. There's other essays that I think are well crafted from a pure writer's perspective. There's a story about a very emotional story about my brother and I experiencing Christmas with my parents right when they split up. It's the experience of waking up on Christmas, I call it, and listening to them get divorced in real time. And it's such a layer cake of emotions, and it's so complicated. And I really tried in that essay to channel my inner Hemingway to write about super, super complicated, layered emotions, but in the simplest way with very, very simple sentence construction. And as Adam can attest, and now probably everyone listening can attest, I tend to be quite loquacious and verbose. And this was an exercise in really not saying very much, but trying to capture the complicated in a very uncomplicated way.
Christmas is certainly one of the essays that that stood out to me, and one that I definitely will be sharing with others. But between I think those two that you've just talked about, Christmas and the Inferno, are great examples of two essays that are in this body of work that are so different and both hit on so many emotions. The Inferno is the first one that I saw a sample of when I was first being introduced to the project. And immediately I was drawn to it because there's so many parts of it that I could relate to. My daughters are both dancers as well. And so we started texting back and forth when we were at dance recitals. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be here for another 3 hours. And I know somebody else who can appreciate this. All of the recorded essays are accompanied by some really interesting sound design that really, I think, helps listeners sort of feel immersed in the essays. And if you subscribe to the Commune podcast feed, you will be receiving a dispatch of an essay each week that's accompanied by a conversation between either you and your wife, Skylar, or you and one of your girls. And I think those reflections, those conversations reflecting on the essays, are also just really, really interesting and sort of give listeners a chance to connect to what they heard in different ways. And so I highly recommend that listeners subscribe to the Commune podcast feed. But also we're going to include a link in the episode notes to the audiobook format of this, which is the essays sort of packaged into one neat, tidy package. And I think it's something that you're going to find that you listen to once and then you revisit it, or revisit specific essays that touched you or that you can relate to. I did want to call out another one of my favorite essays is called Bedtime Fairy Tale. And it opens with your youngest daughter, Micah, asking you, if you had one wish, what would it be? And you take her on this adventure of meeting your wife and all the journey that you took together, and of course, sensationalizing it in sort of this bedtime fairy tale way. And then when you get to the end of the essay, you answer that question in a very direct way, but it just hits really hard. And I wonder sort of how that essay sort of came to be and how you arrived at the answer that you give her. And maybe you can share that with our listeners, what she asked you and how you answered it.
Well, anyone who's familiar with fairy tales, and many dads unfortunately are, because this is what we're reading until the point of complete and utter exhaustion. And so, Brothers Grimm and the like. And generally, there is a lowly scullery maid that is granted one wish, or three wishes. This is a theme that pops up over and again. And so, yeah, she asks me, if you had one wish, what would it be? And I kind of demur and postpone and procrastinate and prevaricate on it, and instead, launch into a fairy tale version of my romance with my better three-quarters, Skylar. And I kind of take her through that journey of my courtship of my princess, my queen, and eventually like the birth of my three little bears, with Goldilocks, and how my rapier valiantly delivered X chromosomes and all the rest of it. But, towards the end, she reiterates the question, and like, I can't put it off anymore. And so the answer that I give her appears kind of morbid at first blush, but this is not how she interprets it at all. And I just tell her that, Micah, I wish many, many years from now, your mother and I will die on the same day. And she just gives me a hug and sort of instinctively knows and understands that this is not sad or morose, but actually quite a beautiful, wonderful dream. And, Skylar and I joke in the conversation afterwards is that she's also our most practical daughter. So she would appreciate only having to organize one memorial ceremony. So she was like, okay. But I think I write, and I don't use the word God too frequently because I am a bit of a vocal atheist, or at least agnostic. But it's the right word to use in this particular context of that, my daughter, she didn't interpret it at all as morbid because she is closer to God than I am. Mm-hmm. And what I mean there really is that she is closer, just quite literally by her age, but to source, but also to open-mindedness and open-heartedness that children possess that often we lose in our more ossified adulthood. And the fairy tale was a way for me to cultivate my own sort of innocence and connect with her there around this seemingly outrageous idea of dying on the same day as my wife.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's hard to forget. Well, I guess maybe we don't remember going back to a certain point in time in our own youth. One point we were all that innocent and, as you put it, closer to God. And I think of it too as a sense of like purity, I guess. You're not yet, I'll use the word tainted by so much of the mess that we've all created out in the world quite yet. And so you can still see things differently in a different light. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to get glimpses of that again when you're our age now and you've got these younger kids. It's a little bit of a portal, back into that space.
Totally. I think of it as very much as a portal. I mean, I reference Narnia quite a bit through the essays because this was such a series, a theme through the kids' life or early life when I was reading those books. And just the wardrobe, the portal that provides. There's an essay in there called The Blue Door, where it's just this experience that I have in Paris of sort of tripping through this blue door and kind of finding this bohemian scene. And then I go to get my children to bring them back to it, and I can't find it again. And I'm so frustrated that I can't find it. But it pokes at this idea of like when we're kids and we're just out playing in the forest or in the marshes, and we're coming across things spontaneously all the time with no agenda, with no purpose, with no plan on getting anywhere or getting any particular thing done. We're just there. We're just all there. And we lose that sense of playfulness. We become so obsessed with purpose. And it's great to have purpose in a way to like wake up and feeling like you have a meaning in your life. But purpose also is a double-edged sword, because it can also just hang out there as something that you're always chasing, that there's a chasm between where you are and it, and then like you achieve it for a brief second, but then the second like you cut the ribbon off that box, there's like another chasm opens up, and there's a new purpose that you're chasing. And in that pursuit, there is this aspect of this hedonic treadmill, and the other way to sort of eliminate the chasm between where you are and the thing that you want is to actually love the thing that you're already doing and the things that you already have. And this is just an aspect of what it is to be a kid, I think, where, I remember on Dean, we had this summer house in Connecticut, on the Connecticut shore, and she would just go out and look for birds in the marshes. And I would see her in the morning, and I would see her at 5:30. And that was it, and it reminds us that it's worthwhile just to like kick a stone down a dirt path every once in a while with no intention of getting anywhere or doing anything or getting anything done, to dance just to dance, or to play music just for the sake of playing the music, or to write just for the sake of writing.
For parents who are sort of finding themselves, in the thick of it, and then the chaos of life and the waxing and waning and the seesawing, I think you had said earlier, what do you want them to take away? Well, what would you want them to take away from this series?
Yeah, well, this is different than a lot of the other things that I do in the health space, where there's actionable protocols. It's like, you got to spend 11 minutes cumulatively in the ice bath every week at a temperature average 48 degrees. It's not that, but I think it's an awareness of where your influence is. And so, so much of the time, I think parents want their influence on their children to be very direct and explicit, like eat your grass-fed beef or whatever it is, or take your vitamins, eat your greens. But I think what I have discovered is, my children rarely listen to me, but they almost never fail to imitate me time and time again. And because of that, I think that the most influential way you can be a parent is just walking a principled, if somewhat jagged path, and leaving some real footsteps in the sand for your kids to model good behavior, ethical behavior, strength and compassion, courage as vulnerability, these kinds of things, because I don't often think we realize how acutely our kids are watching us, and by extension, how detrimental it is for kids to have their fathers ripped away from them, which is a kind of bigger adjacent societal problem. but they're watching for better and worse. So it's really upon us dads to model I think an evolved form of paternity or masculinity, one that can be, really strong and courageous and funny and witty, but also one that's soft and affectionate and loving and compassionate. So that's a key message that I really want to get across, particularly in an era of assholes, if you will. And we're sort of in this, swashbuckling shoot from the hip manosphere, where, there are these loud bullying voices that take up so much oxygen. And so, this is why I think it's really important to model something else than that. And then, the other thing is just the inestimable importance of just being there, of erring on the side of showing up, and not necessarily trying to fix all the time, but just being present and being there. I think the knock-on impact of that is safety for children. And yeah, I think it's good for kids to, find the edges of their discomfort from time to time. But I really do think that, that we sometimes underestimate the importance of that compost of safety that we can provide as parents. Because if you really just think of it from a psychological perspective and from an autonomic nervous perspective or nervous system perspective, compassion and creativity and kindness and everything that matters in life emerges from this place of safety where you have a kind of wide open aperture of attention and you feel a sense of trust with the world. You're not self-obsessed. You're in your parasympathetic nervous system. And we can help establish that as dads. And what that often looks like is creating environments absent of neglect and violence and abuse.
Very well said. Dads and moms listening, again, can't recommend enough that you check out Diaries of a Dance Dad, subscribe to the Commune podcast feed, and click on the link in our episode notes to go to the landing page and just learn more about the project. I think once you start getting a taste of these essays, you're really going to get what this is all about and want to hear more. You can learn about Jeff at Jeff Krasno, KRASNO.com. Learn about Commune at onecommune.com. And again, all the links to everything Jeff and Commune and Diaries of a Dance Dad are going to be there right in the episode notes. Jeff, this has been a pleasure. And thanks for agreeing to stick around and do some confessions with us. We're excited for that.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. I love what you guys are doing, and I'm happy to be here.
My kids finally outgrew the Netflix series Go-Go Corey Carson. And while I knew that was coming, I wasn't prepared for the pain of losing all those adorable little animated cars. Confessions.
My girls recently started teasing me with an impression of how I enjoy a beer. Swirling it around like a fine wine, sniffing it, and then swishing it in my mouth with each sip. While the intention is to embarrass me, I quietly take pride in my appreciation.
Confessions.
I have forsaken every health and beauty aid, and, much to my daughter's chagrin, I haven't washed my hair in 15 years.
Confessions. if either of my kids mention the YouTuber Preston Plays even one more time, I'm going to take the TV and all of the screened devices down to Boston Harbor, and I'm going to reenact the Boston Tea Party.
My 9-year-old daughter knows the rules of soccer better than I do at 43.
I wear an Oura ring, but it's performative biohacking because it doesn't actually work. But I wear it because I can't find my wedding ring. So I don't wear my Oura to sleep track, but to avoid divulging to Skylar that I can't find my wedding ring.
Confessions. Confessions. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't recognize the man staring back at me. But then I do that thing where I put my glasses on crooked and I realize, oh, phew, there I am. Confessions.
The voices portraying Jeff's daughters in Diaries of a Dance Dad are not actually his daughters. They're mine. Confessions.
All my girls were born at home, and I had the responsibility of cutting their umbilical cords. And when my second daughter was born, I must have been tipsy because I cut hers about 8 inches away from her belly button. And for about 4 or 5 months, she had what appeared to be a hose emanating from her belly button. And I was petrified that she'd have a massive outie, but it did fall off.
Phew. Confessions.
Confessions.
Those were good ones, Jeff.
Those were good. Those are great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Those are good confessions. I'm excited for people to hear that.
I feel better.
Yeah,
Cool.
I got that off my chest.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll still be married and everything will be good.
Modern Dadhood can be found at moderndadhood.com. All of our episodes are there. You can find us on all the audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Hark Audio, Mark.
Krasnocast. You can also find us, that's enough of that. You can also find us on all the social medias, if that's your thing. You can also reach out to us by writing an email to hey@moderndadhood.com, or if you are on moderndadhood.com, there's a little form there. Just fill it out. Or forget the form and go buy yourself a t-shirt or a Modern Dad hoodie. Do that.
Thank you, as always, to Casper Baby Pants and Spencer Albee for the music heard in this podcast. Thanks to our friend Jeff Krasno. Check out Diaries of a Dance Dad. And Mark, Andrew, check it. Deliver your line.
Thank you for listening.
And happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, everyone.